what if I am now in India, or what if I'm in Bosnia and I would like to apply to an internship or a master thesis or something like that in Vienna? Is it a common practice? At least, have you seen this happen that labs will take international students, even if it's just for a short time?
It is common practice, and again, it kind of depends on the type of position. It is less common within the universities because, as we both know, universities are very specific in a way that even though a position is advertised, it might already be taken. But let's not go into that. That's going to be a rabbit hole for another time and another place. But for institutes, again, like the CEM and like the Vienna Biocenter and like all of these other facilities that are not directly linked to an academic environment and an academic facility, they tend to actually prefer international students from what I've seen.
Hmm.
Like the SEM, a few positions I wanted to apply for and never got the chance to. I looked later into the lab, and I looked into the group and into the group members, and they recruited like people from Mexico, from Canada, from China, from Japan, and so on and so forth. So there is opportunity. Again, it's going to be a lot harder for them, but with institutes, it's a lot more common and it's a lot easier because they'll cover like your expenses for the interview and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Whereas the traditional academic system, like the University of Vienna, if they're looking for master students, it's going to be usually a master student recruited within the group or within the department, or to say the least, from Vienna,
Hmm.
because they won't have the necessary funds to actually get someone out from an XY country, get them the financial support needed, get them the administrative support they'll need, get them the bureaucratic support they'll need, and so on and so forth. So in that case, I would definitely recommend looking at institutes, just because there's a higher chance that you will get something out of that rather than the universities.
That's pretty cool. A common problem is, when you're trying as a biomedical early career scientist to find a job in a company, it's usually this hassle of they won't sponsor my visa, and it's difficult for them to take me. So why wouldn't they just take someone who's right next door, who's already living there? But I guess in the academic setting, it might be a little different in case they have funding for those kinds of things already secured by the government, or something like that. So would you recommend for students to reach out directly to professors, or if they are living abroad and trying to get to Vienna or Austria in general, or how would you recommend that they apply
Like
for these
reaching
things?
out to the professor, you cover this in more ways than one. First, let's go to your LinkedIn profile and read through all the tips and tricks on how to approach a professor and what's all the prep work to actually make your time worth their time, and then actually start looking for people to apply to. Yeah, applying to professors should be the pinnacle of it all. Try and get to the, I don't want to say lower ranked people, but like the PhD students, the master students, the
The
people who are,
peasants,
yeah, basically the peasants of the academic world.
us peasants.
Yeah, but get talking with the people who are in the position that you are in. Like again, kind of cliche, but ideally you also find someone with a similar background. Like if I were looking for a position in, let's say, Australia within a certain institute, I look at someone who has the same citizenship as I do, because it's likely that they'll have the same administrative and bureaucratic struggles that I will have, because I'm not going to be a special snowflake, and talk to them and their experience is going to relate a lot more to me than someone who's coming from the US. And the same goes for Europe. Like you already mentioned it, it's going to be easier for someone to hire locally. At every point in my career, when I was applying to something, I knew that basically I had to be like 20 or 30% better than the next local candidate for them to be worth their time, because it's going to be a hassle for them to go through the entire application process with me. It's a sad reality, but it is the way it is. So in that case, you've got to be ready to be better and a lot better than the locals. And getting back to your actual question, talk to or write to professors after you talk to PhDs, after you talk to master students, after you talk to postdocs, then write to them. There might also be positions that are already out there. Look for those. And also there might be open calls for certain things as well. Like the best example would be like the open calls that will be starting at the Medical University of Vienna for PhD positions, which will be starting at the 1st of March. So they have an open call, which is not uncommon, but like not the most common thing either. So in that case, you kind of throw it into the pot and hope for the best, instead of like going the Swiss route where you have to apply directly to the professor, ask for a position, and so on and so forth. But again, that's kind of going into the finer details of the specific positions.
I think it's a great advice to contact people who are in a similar background as you are. And many times it happened to me that when I was exploring labs that I wanted to apply to for PhD or for an internship or master's thesis or whatever, I would contact the alumni, and actually I would change my whole position on the lab, because I would get first of all, how is the lab atmosphere? How was it to be in that lab? What are the policies around publishing and working, and how are they working, and how are they doing their lab meetings, and how is the mentoring and all of that? And how difficult is it actually to get there from this background? And, getting information from people who are just one step ahead of you and from a similar background as you can be tremendously useful. And, for me, LinkedIn was the platform that was the easiest one to find these people.